Hi there. We continue our interview series where we interviewed Peter Morgan, commonly known as Slacky, and this is the third and final part, which covers training with Marcus Wynne, who was the leading researcher on the practical and tactical application of neural-based training. And unfortunately, we lost Marcus in 2022. Terrific loss to the community and a personal loss to all of his friends. Pete trained with him several times, as well as being personally coached by him in pistol shooting. He also spent time with Marcus outside of the classroom, outside of the gym, outside of the range, in many social settings, most notably when we all stayed at Nick Hughes's house in Charlotte, North Carolina, where we were doing a series of courses over there, and the conversations amongst us for many hours over several days range over a wide variety of topics, both to do with neural-based training, combative self-protection, but also on more general and more relaxed things. For example, Nick had never seen Blackadder Series 4, so we rented it and watched it, and the comments between us all and this hilarious series was epic. Really enjoyable occasion. And also the customary meals after training events all over the world, where all participants were invited to join the instructors for a meal. Very relaxed atmosphere, and it was a chance for the guys to ask any remaining questions, resolve any queries they had, pin down any particular points, and elicit from the instructors quite a bit more than you get just in a formal training session or formal training scenario. And these are very memorable occasions. I've put links to Marcus's books, particularly his treatise on the application of neural-based training, which was curated by Pete and is really the only remaining work on that subject. It was supposed to be the first of a series, but that's not going to happen. Then you've got his fiction books, his thrillers, which were brilliant as well. I've also put a link to his articles on the forum, and also Pete's articles, which I really strongly recommend that you read, because he's a very bright and witty writer, good observational humour in his articles, and I reread them on a regular basis. So, hope you enjoy this third and final part, and it continues here. So, here again with Pete, talking about the great instructors he's trained with, and today we're going to talk about his work with Marcus Wynne. And I think you've just been telling me that it was over in Charlotte when I was over there doing some courses for Nick that you first met Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, I feel a bit like maybe Forrest Gump, and I just happened to find myself in the middle of all these like rather special places and times. But yeah, I think we were staying with Nick to do those courses, and Marcus came up to visit, you know, which is no small distance for him. You know,
Yeah.
The Twin Cities is a long way away, so yeah, I got to first meet him there.
I just wish that we'd videoed some of the conversations we had sitting there having a brew and talking about not only all aspects of combatives and self-protection and weapons training, but just having a laugh.
Yeah,
That's what I think a lot of people wouldn't quickly realise, is just how entertaining it can be hanging around with these guys. People like Big Nick, Marcus, we're just laughing all the time. I remember watching Blackadder with them, you know. When Nick first came over to the UK, he was a little bit wary of us because he didn't know any of us really. And the breakthrough was when we started talking about faulty towers, you know.
It's the language that crosses all barriers, isn't it?
Yeah. So
I remember I didn't. It sounds awful. I didn't know you were funny until I went out there with. Until I went out to Charlotte with you to visit Nick. But so I because I don't. My only time with you have been like in the training halls essentially, where like you've got your instructor head up this. And I remember it was our first day in roaming out and about with Nick, and we went to a bookstore.
That's right, yeah.
And
yeah.
well, I think you and Nick were talking about, you know, like the problems of presenting, you know, this kind of material to a mass market audience. And I think you came up with a time. Have you tried combining combatives with the Da Vinci Code, which was massive at the time? So I thought that was really, really funny because it was delivered in such a dry style. I sort of like, it took me a couple of beats. Damn it, he just made a joke, and that was the first time I'd seen that from you.
I did a seminar for one of the police departments in America, and after like the third day, somebody came up to me and said, "You know, Dennis, you're actually quite funny." Took 3 days to get onto the British humour, you know.
Yeah, that's it. It was
But Marcus came over to the International, and we did a seminar that he presented, neural-based training, and then the actual International. So maybe you talk about that training then.
What, in the Liverpool event?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was like nothing I'd seen.
I'll just give you a little anecdote
go on.
while you're thinking. We picked Marcus up at Manchester, the airport, and in the car on the way to Prescott, where the hotel was, he said, "I've got a present for you, Dan." He opened his suitcase up, and it was a Jerry Hossam folder, right, which is massive. It's the biggest folding knife. It's got a lock like a safe on it. "Oh, thanks. We come to an armed police roadblock." And I thought, "This is how am I going to explain this?" You know? But they just waved us through.
What a welcome that would have been. You only got to own it for 3 minutes.
Seminars cancelled, guys.
That was watching Marcus at work as an instructor was something else. And the worst part is I still don't fully appreciate how good he was, because I think he was doing an awful lot of stuff we just missed.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm sure that, like, you would have seen a lot more than I did back then, and probably still, you know, don't understand to this day. But yeah, he had an uncanny ability to not just, you know, present his material and deliver the stuff he was the syllabus was geared towards, but he was watching each individual student and how they responded to various drills, various pressures, and that in turn would feed into how we would set up later drills for each person. I remember everybody got a personal lead into him, the final drill from him, which that transparently had fed into. Like the amount of information he was taking on board about the whole room, colleagues within the room, and individuals in the room was something beyond. I've never seen anyone match that. Not yet. It was quite something.
I've never seen anyone apply neural-based training the way Marcus does, because most people, who even guys who are instructors in, say, NLP, will use it. Like I will do an NLP sort of technique or introduce an NLP concept. Marcus lived it. It was on all the time, and it was part of his consciousness. I don't think he could switch it off. I remember we were in Pretoria, and we had a meeting with top police firearms instructor there. He was a very stern Afrikaans guy. He was a competitive shooter. And after about 10 minutes, Marcus just sort of told him what his problems were. But it not in an abrasive way. He just said, I guess if you know, and the guy's face lit, yeah, it's exactly, bang, bang, bang.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to see, because he's having a dialogue with you as he's doing it.
Yeah, and like you say, it wasn't all the time. Going back to Charlotte when we met him, I remember the final 5 minutes of our time in Charlotte with him. We were sat outside a coffee shop, we just had a brew. And I was having a chat with Marcus about NLP and the pros and the cons and all that jazz. And this woman walked out the coffee shop and got into a car, drove away. And he just sort of casually said, well, that woman there, she was having a good day today. She enjoys Bob Marley. She was looking forward to the place she's going to. And I was like, hang on, she was only in view for like 7 seconds. Yeah. And he wasn't even looking at her. She was off, like, she walked past his 3 o'clock. She wouldn't have crossed, like, the 2 o'clock threshold of his line of sight, and he picked all that up.
Yeah. Also, the way he presented the material, and I mean, we did a lot of it in South Africa, right from the start, and it was so different from the orthodox and conventional, which I'm familiar with and I'm happy with and comfortable with. Setting up a room, have the trainees do different things to change their state and things like this, move around, and you're not learning sort of like that. If you ever saw his lesson plans, they look like they're written by a spider. It's crazy, but you learned, you took it in, and it was very much experience based rather than sort of a doctrine.
Yeah, his drills were rich. That's what I took from Marcus. Really, the drills were just so rich. It wasn't. So if someone asked me to come up with a drill for any technique, whatever the latest, I'd be lucky to have. Okay, I'll put together a drill and you get one thing from it. It would teach you one thing. Yeah. But Marcus's drills would install like 5 things at once and prep you for the next drill and maximise the whole thing to be retained under stress. I mean, the more you dug, the more you found.
Yeah.
So you do 10 minutes of one drill, which might be modestly, I wouldn't say complex, but there'll be a few things going on. But you'd have this fire hose of information being poured into your head, and you wouldn't even know he was doing it.
Yeah.
Extremely subtle stuff. It was an absolute masterclass. The idea of these drills which can just pour so much in. In terms of information content per minute of instruction. It just went on and on and on. No deadwood. No.
I remember the first Nikita program in South Africa, which was probably the first real one he ever ran. I know he'd done it with a couple of the girls back in Minneapolis, kind of as an experiment. But I was supposed to teach a women's self-defense class, and he kind of persuaded me to let him do the Nikita stuff. And with it being South Africa, it was firearms based and knife based as well as unarmed. So okay. So I was just a role player in it, really, and I probably learnt more than anyone in that class. And it's interesting because once I'd seen it, I got it, obviously understood it, and understood the steps. But there was no way I could have constructed it from that. It's like anything, it's like a piece of music. So you hear, I could do that. People say they can play guitar as good as, Paul McCartney or something. Yeah, but you couldn't write all the music,
No, it was it's still, again, going back to what I said about, Nick Hughes actually wrote a book. We've got nothing but footprints that are rapidly fading in the snow from where Marcus went. The rediscovering all that is going to be an ordeal.
And the problem was, and it was a problem for Marcus, was he was so ahead of his time that he wasn't appreciated. I mean, he should have been one of the most massive instructors, being taken around all the federal agencies and so on. He should have been, but it was too far ahead. It was out of their map of reality.
Yeah,
that kind of thing. He had his supporters in various places, and it produced a little network that you were involved in. But talking about books, of course, he did produce the Neurobase manual, which you curated for him, didn't you?
Yeah, that was a pet project for a short while.
Yeah.
Putting down all his blog posts and putting them together.
The only non-fiction thing left. Although he did put a lot of stuff in his fiction books.
Yeah, shocking amount of stuff went into his fiction books. Now, rereading all those after going through his instructional courses, he wasn't. It's at the time we're all NLP, and we're going through all these books looking for the NLP stuff, and he'd left NLP behind like 10 years from that point.
Well, he didn't really do NLP as such. He did DHE, Design Human Experience, which Bandler has actually gone back to.
Right.
I looked some Bandler stuff up recently, and he was talking about it again. It's a different concept. It's sort of building a machine in the brain. It seems to work with Marcus. He's got that machine. But he only did a 2-day course, something like that, and it's like, wow, he just sort of right, I've got it. It's like Nick Hughes. Going back to him, he's the fastest learner I've ever come across. We were at the Paris Air Show, and we were sharing a room. He was still in the Legion, and he's unpacking his bag, and he pulls out a pair of Sai, the Okinawan weapon, and he said, "Can you show me the Sai kata, Dan?" And I specialised in Sai. It was my favourite weapon, and it's a big long cat. It's one of the longest things ever. And I showed it to him, and he went, "Yeah, I've got that." And then he showed me a technique, some way of manipulating the Sai, which took me a week to learn this one move, which I quickly forgot over the years. And the same with the empty hand kata. The advanced Goju kata. Do you know this kata? Yeah, I'll show you. Yeah, thanks, Dan. Got that.
This is it. Just
and Marcus was obviously the same with neural-based concepts.
He's
So at the time of his untimely death, you were involved in this little group that used to do the Zoom calls and exchange information.
Yeah, the promise of things which didn't quite come. We had a handle on I think it was going to be a 2-week course, probably in Norway. Kay was going to sort all that out. Where we were going to be given the material, and then the final exam was going to be teaching a student according to those principles. And the world turned. The virus of mysterious foreign origin turned up, just trashed all the plans, and people started dying left and right. It was what could have happened.
I mean, the stuff like the mind's eye shooting, which I presented in Sweden, Switzerland. You were there, and one of the most experienced shooters who works for a government entity now, he said that's the most important training I've ever done, and it's all Marcus's stuff. None of it's mine. I just presented what he presented, obviously not to his level, but it really is, and as I said before, it should be much more widely known.
Well, there's a saying in science that science only progresses when all the old guard die, and I think it's a shame that Marcus didn't get to outlive the people who refused to listen. So we've been set back 20, 30 years. I think it's just a crying shame. Absolute crying shame.
Again, I'll put a link to where you can still get Marcus's book. It's an e-book. It's available on Amazon. Plus his fiction. I really like Marcus's writing, this fiction stuff, and particularly with a Vengeance. It's got the best descriptions of close quarter combat I've ever read in a fictional book. So, cheers, Pete. It's been absolute delight, and we're going to go off now to Chinatown and continue the talk.
Oh no.